In this exercise, we're looking at the percent of sales method to figure out your required new funds. This is a shortcut method, and it's based on the premise that if you increase sales, your assets will increase for cash, receivables, inventory. Liabilities will increase if you have more accounts payable for the items that you had to purchase for resale or for manufacturer, your expenses. You also will have a change in equity as you keep a portion of your additional sales in profit and you do not pay them out in dividends. The retained earnings section of equity will increase. So we have a problem where we are given an income statement in millions of dollars. We are also given a balance sheet in millions of dollars. So first, looking at the formula, we see that the relationship between variable assets and sales times the additional sales is going to tell you how much additional assets you need to increase the sales that much. The liabilities over sales is your variable liabilities, which liabilities go up as you increase sales, times the change of sales. And this third part of the equation says, what will you keep? So this is the profit margin times your new sales dollars times 1 minus dividend payout. What do you keep and increase retained earnings with? So we have the change in assets, change in liabilities, and change in retained earnings. So starting out, we need the components of our equation. The first number we need is the sales. Looking to the income statement, we see that sales are $350 million. Now let's look at the information they're giving us. They're planning that there's going to be a large increase in demand, and they are predicting a sales increase of 20%. All the balance sheet items are expected to change with the increase in sales, except common stock. They are not planning on selling any additional stock, and the change in retained earnings is only going to be due to the profits you keep after paying dividends. We also see that they mention that they are at full capacity. Normally, we would expect our variable assets to be cash, receivables, inventory. But if they tell you that you're at full capacity, that means that the plant and equipment is also variable, because you have to add any equipment, you have to expand capacity to make one more item, because you don't have enough facilities for that. Alright, so the change they're predicted in sales is 20%. So this means that our change in sales itself is going to be $70 million, which makes our new sales $420 million. Profit margin, we're going to have to calculate that. So let's move back up to the income statement. And we see that our profit equals $31.5 million on sales of $350 million. That makes our profit margin 9%. So for every dollar sale, we get to keep 9 cents in net income. Our dividend payout ratio, it's telling us that we paid dividends of $7.875 million from the $31.5 million that we kept. Our dividend payout, we're paying out 25 cents on the dollar of net income. Our variable assets, so we need to look at our balance sheet. Based on being at full capacity, this made all of our assets variable. So our variable assets in proportion to sales would be 280 divided by the 350 million in sales is 80%. Our variable liabilities are going to be the payables, accrued expenses, and any other payables. Those add up to $140 million. divided by 350 million in sales. That's a 40% relationship. So we will go up 4 cents in liabilities for every increase in sales. So our increase in assets, looking at our formula, equals the variable assets to sales times the additional sales, the new sales, the increase. That will be 56 million. Our liabilities would then increase by 28 million. The increase in retained earnings is twofold. It's going to be our profit margin times total new sales times, and this is 1 minus the payout ratio. So in other words, if we're paying out 25%, we're keeping 75%. And that would provide us with 28.35 million. So we need assets of 56. We're going to cover half of that with liability increase, and we're going to increase retained earnings by 28.35. I get a negative answer, 0.35. This tells me that I do not need additional funds. Anytime it's negative, we do not need additional funds. But what happens if we were to change our ratios here? So I'm just going to copy my formulas over and do part B. So part B says, what if our profit margin was 10.5%? But what if our dividend payout ratio went from 25 to 60%? We would then get an answer of 10.36 million. So we would have to go out and borrow. We need to get required new funds of 10,000,036. And with this, you can actually play what ifs. So if I was to not be so generous with my dividends, maybe I only made my dividend payout 40%. That would bring it down what I would need to fundraise. And you could go and change the different variables here to see what would happen. So once again, do not need funds if negative number. If it's a positive number, then that's the amount we do need.